Hello, YouTube. This is Sky,
And Quinn.
and welcome to our second podcast. Today, we're going to be talking about this new kind of theory about different mindsets, and I'm going to let Quinn take it away because her brother actually told her about this, and we've been thinking about it more.
So yesterday, I needed to go to the mall for something, and I wanted my brother Evan to come with me because the mall's kind of a far drive, and I didn't really want to be alone. And I was like, "Please come with me, please come with me." And he didn't want to go, so I finally bribed him with jelly beans.
Jelly beans.
You bribe your siblings to go places with you. I'm like, if you come to the mall with me, I'll give you jelly beans. And he was like, okay. And then we started going to the mall, and he was really quiet. And I was like, hey Evan, why don't you talk to me? I mean, I think you're a pretty insightful person, and I like talking to you. And he just didn't want to talk to me. And then I just started talking, and then eventually he started telling me that at school the other day, he and his friend were talking, and his friend said that there are two kinds of people in the world: the people who have a prison mindset and a palace mindset. And people who have this prison mindset, they torture themselves with their thoughts, and they just replay their thoughts over and over and over and again in their minds, and basically their mind is a prison. And people who have a palace mindset, they may have thoughts that bother them, but then they can easily get rid of them, and they don't think about them again. Their mind's kind of like a palace because everything seems to be going like perfect in their minds.
So they don't let their thoughts bother them, and they kind of like just kind of cover it up and
yeah,
right, okay.
Where everything's just perfect. And what I found really interesting is he said that his friend told him that most people have a palace mindset, which I found incredibly odd.
Really?
Because personally I have a prison mindset, and I assumed everyone else kind of did that too and just replayed their thoughts in their heads again and again.
I assumed that too, because I'm definitely, as soon as you say that, like, I'm definitely a prison mindset. And yeah, now that I think about it, the other day I was at school, and we were actually walking in, Quinn, to talk to our lit teacher, and I got up like 10 minutes before Quinn picked me up that morning, so of course I threw on my sweatpants and my sweatshirt and whatever junk, and so I walked in, and our lit teacher complimented my outfit. Or I thought she was talking to me, but maybe she wasn't. But I kind of spoke, and I was like, oh, wait, me? And I looked around, and it was kind of awkward. And then she was like, yeah. But as I walked away, I just completely overanalyzed it. I mean, Quinn knows. I kind of kept talking about it. And she was like, stop, it's fine. Because I don't know, I wasn't sure if is she talking to Quinn? Is she, and so maybe she just said that when I asked, she agreed because she didn't want to make me feel bad, and I just completely, blew something so trivial out of proportion. I think that's what the prison mindset is all about. We just make this prison, and we box ourselves up behind our own bars, and we beat ourselves up about things. And I definitely do that.
Yeah, and I definitely agree with that because, and I know I do it too, because have you ever done something super awkward, or you feel like it's really awkward and it's really horrible, and you're like, oh my god, did I do that? That's so weird, I can't believe I did that. And then your friend's there next to you saying, no, it's fine, it wasn't weird. Because I feel like in our own minds, we make it seem more awkward and weird than it really is, because we're torturing ourselves with our prison mindset.
Definitely.
And I know I do this all the time, like every day.
Me too.
And we frequently ask each other, was that weird? Or if we say something in class, was that weird? Did that make sense? Because I just felt so awkward.
Kind of to validate, but the other person's just like, no, it's fine. Like, chill out. But I think it's interesting because there's definitely the prison. Like, do you want to live in a palace or a prison? Obviously, people are going to say palace. But if you think about it, that palace mindset is not, it's a fantasy world, and you're eluding reality too much so that it's harmful in a way, right? Like, there's definitely fallbacks to that palace mindset.
Yeah, because I think people who live in palaces, everything's perfect for them all the time because
Yeah.
they're like royalty, or people who live in palaces are royalty,
Mm-hmm.
and they don't have to deal with any issues. So if they don't have to deal with anything, everything's just going perfectly. They don't know what it feels like to go through pain or problems, and then they won't know how to deal with them if that
Mm-hmm.
arises. They're more like their mental state can become more fragile in a way.
So they're not tackling reality. Like the prison mindset people are more the worriers, or like almost like I feel like it's almost lining up with type A, type B perhaps.
Definitely.
Because the type B people are the procrastinators, and it's all fine, but then the world comes crashing down around their palace, and what are you gonna do?
Yeah, when they do their big project the night before. Like I remember back in sophomore year, we had to do this project for AP World. AP World, worst class ever.
Worst
Most
class
anxiety.
ever.
Just
If you are a 10th grader, or if you're not a 10th grader and your school offers AP World, do not take AP World. Please do not take AP World.
AP World was,
Anyway.
AP World was the worst year of my life, and I was so stressed out the entire time. But we had this big project, and it was a map project. We had to make a giant map. It was this giant poster board, and we had to put the lines of longitude and latitude and draw the continents, and we had to label like some 200 things on this map. This is like, excuse my language here, but this was the project from hell. Like, there's always one project each year that is the project from hell, and I think this project was the project that defined all of high school as the project from hell. But I, being a type A person who tends to get stressed out, worked on this project for weeks before it was due and spent hours doing it. I wanted to make sure it was perfect and everything was lined up, because if it wasn't perfect, I would really beat myself up about the details.
Mm-hmm.
And then I remember the week it was due. It was due on like a Thursday or Friday, and I'd been working on this project forever, and I probably worked some 36 hours on it. And some other people were like, "Oh yeah, I haven't started that project yet. I need to do that. I have like 2 days."
The night before. Oh, 2 days before.
Yeah, 2 days or the night before.
Wow.
And I was like, "You're never gonna finish." And they're like, "What are you talking about? It's just a project." And then they're like, "This is gonna be so easy." Lo and behold, they came to school the next day. Those procrastinator palace minds. And they came to school the next day, and they didn't sleep all night because they were doing that project. And their project didn't look as great as other people's did who spent more time on it. And they were like, "Whatever, I got it done."
Yeah.
I mean, is that really the life you want to lead?
Definitely not.
But obviously, I think we have some bias here since we are
biased.
Prison mindset. I mean, palace mindset isn't all bad because they definitely know how to I think they know how to deal with their own issues, kind of in a certain way. I mean, I know that
they're not beating themselves up.
Yeah,
and I think that's the problem
stated.
with the prison mindset. And so I feel like we need this happy medium between the two. And actually, you were telling me that your brother, he was saying, how did he phrase his own type of mindset?
Well, because we were talking about mindsets, and he was telling me what his mindset was before he asked me mine. And he said that his mindset isn't a prison or palace. It's like a country house.
Oh, country house, right.
I was like, "What does that mean?" And he said, he's like, "I don't think my mind lives in anywhere as extravagant as a palace, but it's definitely not a prison. It's kind of like this relaxing country house." And he said he deals with his problems by talking about them, and that makes him feel better.
To other people?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay. Yeah. That seems very, very wise. And I think people can change these mindsets. I mean, definitely. And I feel like it's important that people don't get too caught up on one end of that spectrum, because either you're just so constantly beating yourself up or you're just completely delusional. So it's important to know the reality, but give yourself some grace, you know? Yeah.
Definitely. And with that mindset, I feel like that's probably the best way. That's probably the best way to go, is to try to find that medium.
Yes.
But sometimes you can't change who you are, because personally, if I talk about my problems like he does, sometimes that makes me feel better, but that doesn't always make me feel better, and I personally need to find other ways to deal with that.
Right, but I think that your happy medium isn't going to be the same country house. You know, maybe it's, you know, some sort of, it's a different, you're going to deal with it a different way.
Mhm.
You know, maybe yours is an apartment complex. I have no idea.
Because everyone's different, and
Right.
it's really hard. It's really hard not to compare yourself to other people, but
Mm-hmm.
you just have to be you.
We'll have to talk about that for another podcast, like comparing yourself to other people. I think that'd be a good topic.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're definitely going to talk about comparisons, because we have so much to say about that.
Yeah, as teenagers, that's life.
Yep.
Trying to avoid comparing yourself to people. Anyways, this year in our literature class, we have read Winesburg, Ohio by Sherwood Anderson, and
Best book. Loved that book.
yeah, it was really good. And there's just, you should definitely read it. And there's just so much to analyze, and so many symbols and so many applications to real life. But we wanted to relate it to these two mindsets. So one of the characters, Reverend Curtis Hartman, he's a little creepy guy, because he has started this habit of kind of peeping on like the woman like next door to the church that he's the reverend for.
Kate Swift.
Kate Swift
is her name.
Is her name. And I mean, she's not doing anything weird. She's just like in her room or whatever, and he watches her from the darkness of the bell tower, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so he has this desire to watch her and be creepy, but he knows it's wrong and he knows it's sinful. So he has this major internal conflict, but he blows it way out of proportion. And I mean, he definitely needs to confront that. Like, that's creepy, but like, it just takes over his mind so completely.
Because of the temptation of, he's like giving into temptation, and he knows he shouldn't be doing it.
And he definitely needs to just confront his problem, but instead he stays in this prison mindset of just not knowing what to do about it. And so I actually have a quote on from this book. It says, "Up and down through the silent streets walked the minister, and for days and weeks his soul was troubled. He could not understand the temptation that had come to him, nor could he fathom the reason for its coming. In a way, he began to blame God, saying to himself that he had tried to keep his feet in a true path and had not run about seeking sin." So it keeps going on, with just this internal conflict in his own personal mind prison.
Yeah, and maybe that's what my brother was talking about, like confronting your problems. Like, that's what you need to do. It makes him feel better to confront his problems and talk about them.
Tell other people.
So I think that's what Curtis Hartman needs to do.
You can't keep it to yourself for so long, because you need to consult with other people, hear some opinions, or read a book, whatever. Like, find some inspiration for a way to solve your problem.
Yeah, because if you hold it in for so long, you hit like a breaking point. And I know I get upset in breaking points, and I let it build up and build up and build up, and then I just break, and I'm so upset, and it's just disastrous, which I need to find better ways to deal with my own mindset.
And honestly, I'm going to be real honest here. I am a Christian, so I like to turn to the Bible to look for my inspiration and my guidelines, personally.
Yeah, that's a good way to go.
Yeah.
And well, coming back to Winesburg, Ohio, once again, this is a fantastic book, and another podcast idea is probably we're just going to talk about Winesburg, Ohio, and all the symbols.
We love Winesburg, Ohio. We love it.
We love this book. Very first book we read in AP Lit this year, and we actually didn't read all the chapters because it's seemingly a book about short stories, but they're all connected.
They are.
So we might go back and reread them a couple chapters and read chapters we didn't read, and we're definitely going to have a podcast.
Yes.
All about Weinsberg.
Oh, you know how Curtis Hartman, it's like he keeps going over and over in it, his internal conflict and all. I think that's definitely like how he's a grotesque. We'll have to like explain that in the other one. But basically, in this book, there's this theory about truths and grotesques, and the truths are it's kind of like an idea of life, and then it becomes a grotesque when you apply it too much to humankind, and you like think over it too much, and it controls your mind. So this is definitely an example. This lustful feeling he has is definitely a grotesque, but we'll have to explain that better in the future.
Yes, when we do our whole Weinsberg podcast. But
yes.
All right, guys. Our question for you is, do you have a prison mindset or a palace mindset? Let us know down in the comments, and be sure to give us a thumbs up for our podcast.
Yes. Also, if you're somewhere in between a palace or a prison, please tell us what kind of residence your mind is in.
Yeah, and tell us how you deal with your issues that have come about in your daily life.
We'd love to hear comments. We'll comment back to you. We'd love it. So.
All right, guys. Until next time, I'm Quinn.
And I'm Sky.